We did have some cup games, right? So, we can kind of talk about those somewhat just to kind of, check in on some of these and mainly more so kind of the most exciting, entertaining one. So you had one between the Lakers and the Spurs. The Lakers ended up pulling it out 120 to 115. Right, this was a very back and forth game. At the beginning of the game, right, the Spurs were kind of running away with it. I think they scored the first 11 or so points unanswered, and it's kind of been a pattern with the Lakers. But by the end of the game, they were able to close it out. You had a number of performances by a number of key players. They had a starting lineup change, right? Because Rui was out. They started Dalton Connect, who's been really good in the last few games. You got a triple double from LeBron, but Anthony Davis continues to play, at basically an MVP level. I mean, he gave him 40 points, 12 rebounds, 2 blocks, and a steal. He's been shooting the 3 ball really well this season, right? Better than he has in a very long time because he's been one of the worst jump shooters in the NBA for the last several years. But this season so far, 43% from three, only on 2 attempts a game, but he's been in the 20s, right? Pretty much, for a long time at this point. So it's kind of interesting to see, his jump shot being much improved from what it had been. And that's a big part of why his offensive numbers are going up because he was always good around the basket, but he had always kind of been a shaky jump shooter. But him being able to hit these shots, but also be willing to take them, especially in big moments, because some of these shots are coming late where it's kind of like, we need you to get these, we need you to hit these. And they're high pressure shots because he made a couple of threes to put this game away against the San Antonio Spurs. So, I mean, he's basically one of the league leaders in scoring, over 30 a game, double digit rebounds. And so, his performance so far this season is kind of the biggest reason why the Lakers are in the position that they're at, where, I mean, you're talking about them being basically what, 9-4, right? This is, if they've won 5 in a row after this Pelicans win. So this is the best start that they've had in quite some time, right? And again, like with LeBron, he's not putting up the crazy numbers that, we're used to him seeing, but he's still effective, in a lot of these spots, giving them 23, 8, and 9. The last several games, he's kind of been playing point guard because they've made their rotational changes with D'Lo being the backup guard, right? Max Christie, after kind of being benched, he's kind of come back and he's kind of given them some productive minutes. So, what are you kind of seeing from this team that's, I think, kind of a surprise? Because I think both you and I were not as low as other people were on LA in terms of, like, a lot of people thought that they would just kind of be one of the worst teams in the West, right? But I don't think we were necessarily quite expecting them to get off to the start they've gotten to, right? Like, I think we were kind of in the minds of solid team, but probably somewhere in the play-in versus, like, right now they've been playing like a top, 5 team in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I agree, 100%, where it's like, I think this was a big surprise. And I think one of the factors was JJ Redick. I thought, like, I wasn't sure what we were going to get, and how he was going to adjust and what, kind of offense it was going to be. But I've been thoroughly impressed with him. And I know, you're the Laker fan. So, like, I'm going to rebound a question to you, once I'm done. But, AD has been awesome, awesome, awesome. Like you said, MVP level. And it's his team now. I think we know that. LeBron obviously is going to be the physical leader, but in terms of the way that the team is constructed and the way that the team plays, and how the plays are drawn up, you can definitely see they're running through AD bearing threes over freaking Wembenyama, in the clutch. I mean, that should kind of be the sign for you. And I think even like some complementary pieces have played slightly better. I think Cam Reddish has been pretty good on the defensive end, and I think that's kind of been something that's been overlooked a little bit. Offensively, he is what he is, but defensively, I think that could be something that kind of keeps him around a little bit longer. Who knows? AR, I think, has been fine. Like you said, Connect has been awesome. I think he's kind of been the spark plug that you needed, and for him to be inserted into the starting lineup is definitely a good sign because he's giving you productive minutes, and he's scoring the ball, which is something that the Lakers brought him in to do. But overall, yeah, very surprising start, but you definitely have to credit, I think, AD and JJ Redick. And my question to you was going to be, do you think JJ Redick has, surpassed some early expectations already? And like, what are your overall thoughts on him? Because I haven't really talked to you about like how you feel about JJ Redick through, the first 12 games for the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, there are some checkpoints so far that it seems like he's passed, right? Like, I think you kind of see, overall the system that he's kind of set up, right? Where, there's a lot of, like there are portions where there is movement, and it's not like there wasn't movement in Ham's offense, but it's the consistency. Now, to be fair, in some of these other games, there hasn't been quite as much of that, but some of
Sure.
that is just like, because they're playing a lot through their superstar guys, right? But, you still have the thing where, they're putting a lot of confidence into some of these guys. And I think for him also, the fact that he's kind of willing to go away from certain things and kind of shake stuff up, right? Because say like for Ham, you might have a criticism where like he did kind of shake up the lineup, but there were points where it might have been a little bit too late, right? Like, and obviously like for Reddick, he's got to start with that starting five, from last season that won them a bunch of games. But kind of making these adjustments, like say like D'Angelo Russell, you're going to the bench, right? Because we kind of probably need your offense for the second unit because the second unit offense has been really spotty. And from the start, he was putting the ball more in Austin's hands, anyways, and he's having a really good year, and he's meshed very well with LeBron and AD. And like you said, right, like Dalton Connect, his minutes were kind of spotty earlier in the season, but that's kind of what you expect, right, from a rookie, right? Where it's like he kind of has to earn his minutes, and now he's gotten the opportunity to get more, right? Going away from Max Christie after he was given the opportunity and then just didn't really play that well. But now that guys are hurt, he came back, he put him in, and he has kind of rewarded him with some solid moments, right? Obviously, they got some other injuries to the front court as well. So I do think that's kind of where, you like seeing that. And it seems like the players seem to like him and trust him a lot, right? Because, like, say for D'Angelo Russell, I'm sure he's not very happy at all coming off the bench, and there's still moments where you can kind of tell where he's, like a little, I'm sure, like kind of taken out of the game.
Sure.
But just in general, right? Like, it just seems like I'm a little bit more surprised at how cohesive it's been, just because, and I know you have LeBron and AD as a good starting point, but you just kind of assume that some of the issues that a rookie coach would have, he'd have more of. But obviously, it's still early in the season. But I do think he's been better than I thought, because I think both you and I think we just weren't really sure what to expect. Like
Hmm.
we've obviously heard him on podcasts, so we kind of know what type of knowledge he has in terms of basketball, but it's still different when you're a head coach because there's other factors too. You have to be a communicator, you have to be a leader, you have to be able to, kind of also take cues from, assistants and things like that. So there's other factors beyond just the X's and O's, but
Yeah.
it seems like so far, it's been, he's been putting it together. And again, like I just think it's, when you win, obviously everybody's happy anyways, right? Like if the record was flipped and they were like 4-8, it'd be a major problem. But I actually do think he's been so far through the first, you know, 12 games or whatever, 15 games of the season, he's been good. And I think, like I said, that's part of it. Because again, it's basically the same roster as last year, aside from a few guys kind of swapped out, right? Like it's not Torian Prince, it's Dalton Connect, right? It's not Spencer Dinwiddie. But like everyone else is there, right? So I mean that's kind of the main thing. So that's where, it's nice to see them get off to a hot start because they need to, right? Because we talked about it where it's very difficult to be able to start off slow and then turn it on late and expect to make a deep run, right? And for
Yeah.
them, like I think they know and understand that the roster is currently constructed still isn't good enough to be a contender, but you want to be able to win all these games now so that way you can give yourself a cushion, and so that way if that time comes where they actually do make a deal and possibly improve the roster, then you're in an even better spot. Because what you don't want is a situation like it's been where they've basically been stuck in the play-in, kind of hoping and waiting for a trade, and then either it doesn't come or it does come, but it's kind of like really late in the season. So I think you got to give him his props so far. So I mean that's kind of the way you have to look at it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, honestly.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's definitely been surprising because, like I said, I think both you and I thought that they were capable of winning games, just not at the pace that they've been winning them. And then
Yeah.
obviously, like we don't have to really say a whole lot about the Spurs, but like for them, I think they have been a little better than you might have thought, right? Like they've got some young guys that have been playing well. Obviously Wemby's Wemby, but again for them, it is kind of tough because it's still a young team. There are some vets on this team, but there's still some holes there. But I do like some of their younger guys. Like I like Stephon Castle a lot in terms of what he's been doing, and he's gotten some opportunities since Vassell, has just come back from injury. But obviously this is mainly kind of about the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, with the Spurs, Wemby's been heating up. I will say that he looks, a lot more comfortable, than earlier in the season. The
Still
3 point
hitting threes.
shot. What'd you say?
Still too many threes.
Agreed. Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Way too many threes, and it's like, sometimes with these tall players, you kind of wish that they would, maybe realize that they don't have to play, like a 6'3" point guard. This guy's what 7'3", 7'4". So honestly, that is a little annoying at times. But hey, he's still putting up big time numbers. But yeah, he's looked a lot better, and like you said, the role players and the young guys are looking, a little bit more solid. It looks like more of a cohesive team, and I think that is somewhat attributed to Chris Paul. I know he hasn't been like a superstar by any means, but I think he's brought a certain level of stability to that roster and that offense that has made them look slightly better than last year.
Yeah. And then, just one more point about the Lakers before we
Mm-hmm.
move on.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 in offensive rating, which is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously defensively, 26
Yeah.
in defensive rating.
Yeah.
So, bottom 5 defense,
Yep.
top 5 offense, which is kind of what it was the latter part of last season, where like they turned from a defense team that couldn't really get it done on offense to an offensive team
Mm-hmm.
that couldn't really get it done on defense. So, just kind of interesting. And we've talked about what they need because we know the type of things that they need, right? They need some athleticism in the backcourt, some defensive guys, on the interior and on the perimeter.
Need
So,
Vando back, man.
yeah, and that's the thing is like, unfortunately he hasn't played it all. So that's kind of I think why you're seeing Reddish out there.
Yes.
Because he's not the same as Vando, but he is a guy that can defend. And
Yeah.
like that's the main thing that he does out there. So
Yeah.